This committee is a joke. It's corrupted. It's not operating in good faith. And they issue this politicized contempt finding against Bannon. And the Garland Justice Department, like that, indicts Bannon. I've never seen anything like it. January 6th is being used as a vehicle to criminalize the speech of those who oppose the Biden agenda, who question issues about the election, and just generally are Trump supporters. That's what's going on now. The latest, it's breaking today, just a few minutes before I came here to record this. Steve Bannon has been indicted by the Garland Justice Department over his refusal to cooperate with the Pelosi Inquisition. Two-count indictment, refusal to show up for questioning and to produce documents. And this snap indictment comes even though that the executive privilege that Bannon is citing as reasons for him not to cooperate is being litigated civilly here in the District of Columbia, the U.S. Court of Appeals. It's before now. So this is an outrageous abuse of power. Contempt of Congress proceedings are pretty darn rare. The idea that, when was Bannon referred to by Congress for contempt? 4 or 5 weeks ago? This is a snap indictment. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've been doing this work at Judicial Watch for decades. It takes forever and a day to get this type of indictment going. And this is a political jihad against opponents of the Pelosi Congress and those who have questioned how the elections were handled. And sure enough, this Pelosi committee, which again is a one-party committee. Yeah, there are 2 Republicans on it, appointed by Nancy Pelosi. So it's controlled by one party. So there's no representative of the minority party appointed by the minority leadership, McCarthy and company, on the House. So it's inherently invalid, inherently suspect. And so they're not even investigating January 6th anymore. They're investigating criticism of the election processes and the fundamental First Amendment right to petition one's government to make sure the rules are followed. There's now subpoena after subpoena issued at people whose only crime was to raise questions about the way the election was handled and how Congress ought to handle the election. So this committee is a joke. It's corrupted. It's not operating in good faith. And they issue this politicized contempt finding against Bannon. And the Garland Justice Department, like that, indicts Bannon. I've never seen anything like it. It's disturbing. It's frightening. And it comes on the heels of the FBI Justice Department raid on the home of Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe, one of Judicial Watch's friends. They raided his home, purportedly because they're investigating something about Joe Biden's daughter's diary, which has some weird stuff in it, reportedly. I had missed that it was even a news story back in the day. I guess it had come out just shortly before the election, and I had completely missed it. But evidently a diary is worthy of FBI investigations. Southern District of New York investigations, which is the successor to the Mueller operation, the abusive Mueller operation that targeted Trump. Now, you may recall Garland a few months ago came out with new rules and regulations that the Justice Department would essentially really cater to the media by creating new regulations to make it harder to subpoena media figures and journalists. Well, that's what James O'Keefe is. So I guess those rules don't apply. It's a wild abuse of power. And you have the FBI and you had the raid being leaked, and then confidential materials shortly after the raid being leaked. Were those materials obtained as a result of the raid and leaked to the New York Times? I don't know. But it sure looks bad. So these are terrible times we live in terms of the rule of law. The Justice Department is completely politicized. You know, I'm not one of these people who say the Justice Department's independent. If it's independent, then it's unconstitutional. The Justice Department answers to the presidency. So I presume, and we should constitutionally speaking, that the Justice Department is doing the bidding of the White House. Because the Biden has an independent authority, as constitutional authority, and that the Justice Department is committing misconduct, an obligation to step in. And at the same time, the Justice Department literally is protecting Joe Biden from a special counsel that should have been appointed because his son is at least the subject of investigation, and we know what his son did has implicated his father. So the Justice Department is topsy-turvy in terms of ethics. And they're targeting the political enemies of Joe Biden, Steve Bannon and James O'Keefe. Who's next? I don't know. So Judicial Watch, of course, will do its investigations as to what went on there, like we did during the Mueller operation. But boy, oh boy, some dark days for the rule of law here in Washington, D.C.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.